Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjano Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjano Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjano Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Bhajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Bhajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Sisi Radha Madhava ki Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Om Vishnu Padma Puri Vrajika Jaja Shodara Shri Shrimad His Divine Grace Abhai Sharanara Vinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Jai Om Vishnu Padma Puri Vrajika Jaja Shodara Shri Shrimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki Jai Antukoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai ISKCON Vandacharya Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai srimadbhagavatam ki Jai Samaveda Bhaktim ki Jai Go Premanandi All glories to the assembled devotees All glories to the assembled devotees All glories assembled devotees All glories Sisi Guru and Siddhi Gauranga Chintai Vidishmati Bhakti Vedanta Gauravani Pracharini Nivakshesha Shanyavari this picture on the front of the Bhagavatam. Every time I ever saw this, I thought, you got to be really careful when you embrace Lord Indra. Poke him in the eye. He's like, because he sees it coming and he closes the eye. Eyes. So you got to be careful. That's just his problem, I guess. He got himself in that situation. Okay. So this morning, reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto. This is chapter 21, text 7. The instructions by Maharaj Prithu. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrijam Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat. Okay. Evam Adinyana Vadya. Yeah, I had practiced this yesterday. I actually was studying the verse. Just lost my. Sevam Adinyana Vadya Cheshtita. Right? Sevam Adinyana Vadya Cheshtita. Karmani Bhuyamsi Mahan Mahatmaha. Kurvan Sasha Shavani Mandalam Yashaha. Spitam Nidaya Ruhe Parampadam. Sevam Adinyana Vadya Cheshtitaha. Karmani Bhuyamsi Mahan Mahatmatamaha. Kurvan Sasha Shavani Mandalam Yashaha. Spitam Nidaya Ruhe Parampadam. Sevam Adinyana Vadya Tishtita. Karmani Bhuyamsi Mahan Mahatamaha. Kurvan Sasha Shavani Mandalam Yashaha. Spitam Nidaya Ruhe Parampadam. Sevam Adinyana Vadya Tishtita. Karmani Bhuyamsi Mahan Mahatamaha. Kurvan Sashavani Mandalam Yasha. Spitam Nidaya Ruhe Parampadam. Anyone like to chant? Sevam Adinyana Vadya Cheshtita. Karmani Bhuyamsi Mahan Mahatamaha. Kurvan Sashavani Mandalam Yashaha. Spitam Nidaya Ruhe Parampadam. Sevam Adinyana Vadya Cheshtita. Karmani Bhuyamsi Mahan Mahatamaha. Kurvan Sashavani Mandalam Yasha. Spitam Nidaya Ruhe Parampadam. Word for word. Saha, King Prithu, Evam, thus, Adini, from the very beginning, Anavadya, magnanimous, Cheshtitaha, performing various works, Karmani, work, Bhuyamsi. Repeatedly. Mahan. Great. Mahattama. Greater than the greatest. Kurvan. Performing. Shasha. Ruled. Avani Mandalam. The surface of the earth. Yasha. Reputation. Spitam. Widespread. Nidaya. Achieving. Aruruhe. Was elevated. Parampadam. To the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Translation and purport. Srila Prabhupada. King Prithu was greater than the greatest soul and was therefore worshipable by everyone. He performed many glorious activities in ruling over the surface of the world and was always magnanimous. After achieving such great success and a reputation which spread throughout the universe, he at last obtained the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Please repeat. King Prithu was greater than the greatest soul and was therefore worshipable by everyone. He performed many glorious activities in ruling over the surface of the world and was always magnanimous. After achieving such great success and a reputation which spread throughout the universe, he at last obtained the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. King Prithu Maharaj ki. Purport. A responsible king or chief executive has many responsible duties to attend to in ruling over the citizens. The most important duty of the monarch or the government is to perform various sacrifices as enjoined in the Vedic literatures. That's number one. The next duty of the king is to see that every citizen executes the prescribed duties of his particular community. It is the king's duty to see that everyone perfectly executes the duties prescribed for the Varna and Ashram divisions of society. Besides that, as exemplified by King Prithu, he must develop the earth for the greatest possible production of food grains. There are different types of great personality. Some are positive, great personality. Some are comparative, and some are superlative. But King Prithu exceeded all of them. He is therefore described here as Mahat Tama, greater than the greatest. Maharaj Prithu was a Kshatriya and he discharged his Kshatriya duties perfectly. Similarly, Brahmanas, Vaishyas, and Sudras can discharge their respective duties perfectly and thus, at the ultimate end of life, be promoted to the transcendental world, which is called Parampadam. Parampadam, or the Vaikuntha planets, can be achieved only by devotional service. The impersonal Brahman region is also called Parampadam, but unless one is attached to the personality of Godhead, one must again fall down to the material world from the impersonal Parampadam situation. It is said, therefore, Aruya Karchena Parampadam Tata. The impersonalists endeavor very strenuously to achieve the Parampadam, or impersonal Brahmajyoti, but unfortunately, after being bereft of a relationship with the Supreme Personality of God, they come down again to the material world. If one flies in outer space, he can go very high up, but unless he reaches a planet, he must come down again to earth. Similarly, because the impersonalists who reach the Parampadam of the impersonal Brahmajyoti do not enter into the Vaikuntha planets, they come down again to this material world and are given shelter in one of the material planets. Although they may attain Brahmaloka or Satyaloka, all such planets are situated in the material world. Om Gyanti Barandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksulan Minitam Nenataismai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vashadi Gaur Bhakti Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Om Gyanti Barandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksulan Minitam Nenataismai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vashadi Gaur Bhakti Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Banchika Patrupascha Kripa Sindhu Patitanam Bhavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. So with your blessings and good wishes, I'll try to say a few things. If the class isn't very good, it's because you didn't bless me very much or give me good wishes. I blame it. It's all your fault. Okay, I'm playing the victim here, victim mentality. So some very wonderful points here. The first in the purport, Bob was talking about that the chief executive, whoever it may be, whatever the form of government is, their first responsibility is to make sure that the various sacrifices that are enjoined in the scriptures are being performed by the general population. In other words, in a very elevated culture, they understand the goal of life is to go back to Godhead. So whoever the leader is, actually, it can be government, it can be in the family, it can be a teacher, guru, whatever it may be. If you're in charge, you're responsible. Ultimately, you're responsible. Your most important responsibility is the spiritual welfare of the people underneath you. And that's quite a contrast to today's world, or not just today's world, whenever the what do you want to call it, secular, atheistic mentality pervades, people don't even believe that such a reality exists. It's a waste of time. That's what they'll say. It's a waste of time. Even in India, who was it who said, instead of worshipping Tulsi, something like that, grow eggplant and chili or something like that, right? Remember that one? Vivekananda, like that. So that's quite interesting. Big spiritual leader, and he's saying things like that. Or that the factories are the new temples. Who was that one in India? Remember that one? One of the new factories. In other words, industry. That will save India. That was one of the first prime ministers after, in Gandhi, after he was killed and so on. That's what they're saying. In other words, economic development. That will save India. Nehru or something like that. Factories are the new temples. So you can see how off they are. Because Prithu Maharaj is described here as Mahatama, greater than the greatest. It's interesting. India has these, Prabhupada says positive, positive, comparative, and superlative. There's that one Indian gentleman who came, he gave a donation, some old clothes, and he said, better than new. The old clothes were better than new. Why? Because he's cheap. His old clothes, but somehow they're saying better than new. So they have these, superlatives. What's better than new? So they always got a line for everything, right? So it's in the language there, superlative. Oh, it's better than new, like that. So, Prithu Maharaj, what does it mean to be a great soul? That's described in Bhagavad Gita. Mahatmanastu mamparta daivim prakritim asritaha. Who's a Mahatma? Who's a great soul? One who's taking shelter of Krishna's internal energy, not the external energy. In the material world, you become great by taking shelter of the external energy and manipulating it. If you can manipulate material energy in spades, is that what they say? Manipulate the material energy in spades, and I would do something very wonderful. Create a huge corporation, you annex or invade other countries. You have a big empire. They've done that before, right? The ego's so big, whether it's Alexander the Great or your Hitlers and your what is I'm just trying to think of. All those, yeah. They're just, just big egos like that. Napoleon, that's what I was thinking of. So, or big corporations merging one after the next. So who is the one now with Amazon? As an example. Or Walmart, huge businesses with just other businesses just falling to the wayside. Amazon, was it Bezos? Is that his name? Right. Well, they're buying it. They just keep buying and buying, bigger. So they're Mahatmas, you could say, big people in the material world, but actually they're not. They're completely controlled by the material nature, and they'll be undone by their endeavors. But the real Mahatma, according to Vedic culture, is someone who is engaged in the Lord's devotional service. And if they're in a position of responsibility, they make sure everyone under their care is also engaged in devotional service. So the king specifically, all these different religious performances. And number two, it says the next duty of the king is to make sure everyone's properly engaged according to Varna and Ashram, because Krishna set up the system. Right there in the Bhagavad Gita, Chaturvayam Ashishtam, Guna Karma Vibhaga Saha. So Krishna set up the Varna Ashram. It's a system, social system, and you can say spiritual system too, where different orders of life are there, You have your Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Sudras, and you have your Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. And according to one's guna and karma, one's supposed to be engaged, and it's set up in such a way where it's like a conveyor belt. Gradually, one's consciousness is purified. And also, society is very, very peaceful as far as possible if people are engaged according to their propensities, like that. What happens if someone has no management ability whatsoever and you put them in charge of something? It's a mess. One has no leadership ability and you put them in charge of people, same thing. Someone's a fool, like Prabhupada was saying about our modern teachers and so on. They're all fools and rascals. What do they teach? They don't know. They even say, I don't know. We're guessing. Maybe it'll happen like this, maybe it happened like that. So, just problems. They're not qualified. Do what you're qualified for. That's the point. If you're not in knowledge, how can you teach? If you can't lead, why are you leading? Etc., etc., etc. So one has to be engaged according to their propensities. So, that's a good lesson to be learned. And of course, if no one's around to let us know what we're supposed to be doing, we should endeavor to try to understand. What are our propensities, to be engaging according to our propensities. Just like today, I remember reading an article years ago, I don't know if it's gotten worse or better, but say the average person has about 18 different jobs in their life. Even millionaires, 18 different types of work they do before they finally find their niche, right? So that's a lot of wasted time. It's a lot of wasted time. So find out, your propensities and so on. And if you, it's like in Bhagavad Gita, there's a few verses, but maybe we'll get a chance, we can get to it. The 7th canto here, there's some nice, that's one section where it gets into great detail about the different varnas and ashrams and what the duties are. The duties of not only varna and ashram, but men and women. Everyone has duties, and if they perform them nicely according to guna and karma, one will be very peaceful, society will be very peaceful, and one can progress nicely in devotional service. So there's many, of course, there's many different dharma shastras and so on that get into great detail. And even though it's said that varnashram is almost impossible to establish in the age of Kali, everything's upside down and inside out, and the Yuga Dharma is the chanting of the holy names, still, as much as possible, one should follow this varnashram system, at least in some type of form, then one will be peaceful. Because we are in this material world, we have a material body, we have a particular mindset, or psychophysical makeup, I guess that's what they call it, psychophysical makeup, and certain propensities and so on, and they have to be addressed. And if they are, then one is very, very peaceful. It's a very simple example, but sometimes people talk about how the vegans and so on, what to do with the cows and the bulls, and they shouldn't. That's what I was saying about bulls. They shouldn't be engaged in plowing fields or pulling our wagons and our carts and all that. But you speak to anyone who deals with bulls, they actually thoroughly enjoy hard physical work. Those big bodies, they just kind of hang around. Why do you think that God's given them those big bodies so they can pull things and like that? They should be exploited, but they actually really, really like to do that. Anyone who's got a big, strong body likes physical work. They do. They just can't stand just sitting around. So everyone has their own physical, even all creatures. They have a mental, physical, psychophysical propensity, so they should be engaged accordingly. Like that. So this Maharaj Prithu is described as Mahatma, greatest personality. And of course he went back home back to Godhead. And it's if you think about it, the Bhagavatam, I remember hearing one class, and saying the Bhagavatam was spoken, these Puranas are spoken, and they take the histories of kings. They took the history of Brahmins, we'd all really fall asleep during class. Because Brahmins don't do much. They just kind of write. He offered artik, he gave a class, it's like, But the kings, these dynasties, there's wars, there's intrigue, there's all kinds of duties, there's all kinds of things going on, and they're all devotees. Of course, that's the main thing. And these dynasties also, the Lord in his different incarnations are appearing, but the life of a Kshatriya is a more exciting life. Like that. Let's look at the pastimes of Lord Ram. all the things, protecting the citizens and this, and just like Prithu Maharaj here. So, but if you think about it, there's so many kings. Even the very beginning of the Bhagavatam, you have Shukadev Goswami and Maharaj Pariksit. And there's a king who went back home back to Godhead. You just go through, there's so many different kings, and they all attain perfection. And the Prabhupada gives this example also. Why did Krishna speak Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna? Why didn't he just speak it to some sage in the Himalayas, Maitreya or something? Why Arjuna? One of the main reasons was to show that in any position of life, that's the point, I'll read this verse from the Gita, in any position, if you engage your propensities, your life in serving the Lord through your occupation and so on, you can attain perfection. You can go back home, back to Godhead. And a Kshatriya is quite an amazing status. And even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said he didn't want to meet Maharaj Prataparuja because the name king was before his name, Because kings usually, all that power and money and women and this and that and politics and so on, they're usually very much steeped in all kinds of mundane affairs and so on. But even Maharaj Prataparuja, so many kings, showing that even though they're very much in the mode of passion and dealing with all those things, they also can attain perfection. So in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 18th chapter, after Krishna explains the 4 orders of life, and they're just a basic, verse on each one of them and what their duties or propensities are, he says, Sway sway karmani abhirata samsiddhim labate nara. Samsiddhim labate nara. That means a person can attain perfection. How? 45, starting with 45 and 46. Swakarma nirata siddhim yata vindati tachtrinu. By following his qualities of work, every man can become perfect. That's his samsiddhim, perfection, labate, attain. Now please hear from me how this can be done. So there's a nice information here. How is it that one, by following your qualities of work, you can become perfect? Yata pravityar bhutanam yena sarmidam tatam swakarmanatam abhyarcha siddhim biniti manava. By worship of the Lord, who is the source of all beings and who is all-pervading, a man can attain perfection through performing his own work. That's one of the reasons that whoever is in charge has to make sure everyone is fully engaged in their particular work in relation with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then the last paragraph of this purport is wonderful. It's something we can meditate every day as we're doing our different services and so on. Prabhupada says here, everyone should think that he's engaged in a particular type of occupation by Hrishikesh, the master of the senses. In other words, Krishna's given us what we're supposed to do. He's saying, please do this. Krishna's personally done this. And by the result of the work in which one is engaged, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, should be worshipped. If one thinks always in this way, in full Krishna consciousness, then by the grace of the Lord, he becomes fully aware of everything. That is the perfection of life. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 12th chapter 7th verse, Tesham aham samudharta. The Supreme Lord himself takes charge of delivering such a devotee. That is the highest perfection of life, and whatever occupation one may be engaged, if he serves the Supreme Lord, he will achieve the highest perfection. So just as it's described in this verse in the Bhagavatam, Maharaj Prithu attained perfection. The Parampadam, he went back home, back to Godhead. And how did he do it? By perfectly executing his duties as a king. So whatever position we're in, we need to learn how to perfectly execute our duties in full Krishna consciousness, and we too will go back home, back to Godhead. Maybe they'll even write something about us. Dravida Prabhu went back home, back to Godhead. Perfectly executed his duties as an editor for the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, and he went back home, back to Godhead. Right? Now, how much time we got? I'd like to read this because, as far as being the best of the best, a good person. What does it mean to be a good person? This is a list of qualities that Narada Muni tells. And actually, this is another point. This is a conversation with Narada Muni and Yudhisthira Maharaj. And Yudhisthira Maharaj saying, "I'm a grihasta. I'm a king. How am I going to make it? I don't think I'm going to make it. Back home, back to God." And how someone in a situation, what's it called? Mandadi, he says. Mandadi, like not very intelligent. I'm mixed in all kinds of politics and this and that. Very humble devotee. He's a pure devotee. But he's still taking that position. And there's a whole conversation here. And at the end, Narada Muni tells him, don't worry about it. You're going back to Godhead. You're an intimate associate of the Lord. But in the beginning of these conversations, Narada Muni is explaining there are general principles to be followed by all human beings. And if you listen to this, it sounds like, oh, this is the qualities of great souls. But actually, Narada Muni is saying every single human being, anyone who's walking around like a human body, should be cultivating these qualities. And above and beyond this is devotional service. But this is just the foundation. So I'll read the translation. There are general principles to be followed by all human beings. These are the general principles to be followed by all human beings. Truthfulness, mercy, austerity, observing fast on certain days of the month. That's the austerity. Bathing twice a day, tolerance, discrimination between right and wrong, control of the mind, control of the senses, non-violence, celibacy, charity, reading of scripture, simplicity, satisfaction, rendering service to saintly persons, gradually taking leave of unnecessary engagements, observing the futility of the unnecessary activities of human society, remaining silent and grave and avoiding unnecessary talk, considering whether one is the body or the soul. Distributing food equally to all living entities, both men and animals, seeing every soul, especially in the human form, as part of the Supreme Lord, hearing about the activities and instructions given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the shelter of the saintly persons, chanting about these activities and instructions, and always remembering these activities and instructions, trying to render service, perform worship, offering obeisances, becoming a servant, becoming a friend, and surrendering one's whole self. O King Yudhisthira, these 30 qualifications must be acquired in the human form of life. Simply by acquiring these qualifications, one can satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just like every parent is so happy when they see their kids turn out okay, right? That they have some good qualities, and they're working very, very hard to do that, you know. So it says here, Krishna is very, very happy when he sees that if a person has acquired these qualifications, it satisfies the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why is that? It's not so Krishna has some bragging rights when he goes to a PTA meeting or something like that. My kids are real nice. No. It's because it's for our benefit. Well, these qualities are conducive to developing our Krishna consciousness and going back to Godhead. There's no question, unless these kind of qualities are developed, how can one actually become Krishna conscious? They're symptomatic of someone who's Krishna. They're automatic when one's Krishna conscious. Just like that verse in the 5th canto, that as long as one is on the mental platform, one really doesn't have very deep good qualities. But all the qualities of the good qualities of the devatas and so on are developed in one who's engaged in devotional service, because one's spiritual nature starts coming out. And we say that the basic nature is good. You know, the people discuss this sometimes in philosophy. Is man basically evil, or is he basically good? And there's who say, oh no, actually we're just basically rotten apples. We're basically bad. And the proof is, you simply put people in a situation and they do all kinds of horrible things. So human beings default to being very, very bad. That's our nature. And we have to fight it all. But we say, actually, no, actually the soul is good. It has all good qualities. And the reason we're defaulting to bad is we're not rising above the modes of material nature. Yes, as long as we're in the modes of material nature of ignorance and passion, given the situation, we'll default to doing something improper. We'll just leave it at that. There's different levels of impropriety, right? So, but if one rises above the modes of material nature, then it's all good. Just like when you rise above the clouds, it's all sunny up there. There's a lot of sun up there above the clouds. But as long as we're below the clouds, sometimes there's a little bit of sun, sometimes there isn't. So that's the point. Yeah. It's the 7th canto, 11th chapter, verses 8 through 12. 8 through 12. So it's 7:11, 8 through 12. Well, there's different levels of celibacy. The very fact that you're married, that's one level. In other words, you're not going to see a bunch of women, so like that. The point is, celibacy means you're not absorbed in the whole thing. Okay? Yes, yeah. It makes the mind peaceful and healthy and so on. So, in our society, celibacy is like, right? There's that joke about the priest. You know that joke? You want me to tell you? Well, Mahabharata told me this. The priest, right? He's at the Vatican. He goes down. Apparently, underneath the Vatican, they have all these libraries of all kinds of literature, ancient Christian literature. So he's down there studying some books, and all of a sudden you hear him like laughing and screaming and wow and celebrating and running upstairs and says, hey, "It's not celibacy. It's celebrate. It's celebrate." Yeah. So I mean, the history of originally the clergy in the Catholic Church weren't celibate. It was added later on. It's not right off the bat from Jesus Christ or anyone like that. No. It came later on. Some pope put that in there. And now they're starting to change it. Apparently, someone told me that they're starting to change it. And that you can get married, like other things. So, okay, so we're going to open up for any questions or comments on Maharaj Prithu and the orders of life, one's psychophysical makeup, different qualities. One question I have, there's Mahatma and this is Mahatma. It's two different words, right? Two different words. Yeah, Mahatma, right? So, because doesn't Shrestha mean very good, and Uta means the ultimate. It says you have comparative and superlative. Question.
Who are the impersonalists?
Who are the impersonalists? About 99.9% of the people. People who believe that the ultimate reality is something impersonal. God's not a person. The ultimate reality is just some kind of energy. You and I, in reality, are not persons. That's an illusion. And that's the predominant misunderstanding in the world today. And there are classes, just like in India, there are impersonalists who, they try to understand the impersonal feature of God, the Brahman. You can say they're sincere, trying to understand that they can't conceive of God being a person, so it must be some kind of spiritual energy. Those are called impersonalists. But then there are those who are called Mayavadis, who go even further. They'll say that actually Krishna is just an imagination. Ultimately, Krishna and everything is just part of this one big spiritual energy. They deny the personal feature of God, which is an illusion. They're an illusion. Because he is described in the Vedic literatures, from that personality of Godhead comes the impersonal. Just like from the light bulb comes the light. There's a source. So the energetic is a source of energy. So if there's a spiritual energy, it must have a source, and that's the energetic source is ultimately a person. That's our philosophy. So what's being referred to in the purport here are those who are on the impersonalist path. They may become very, very elevated and even go beyond this material world into that spiritual abode, but because they don't worship Krishna or God, they fall down, they again fall down. It's kind of like if you're, the example is given if, something's a lot of noise and craziness in some relationship and you just go away for some time, chill out. You can't stay there forever because you're a person, you need relationships and so on. You come back to some kind of relationship, just being quiet. It's good, it's some relief, but it's not enough. Because we're all persons, ultimately we're persons, and there has to be some relationship. So if you can't find that relationship in the spiritual world, or haven't reconnected in the spiritual world, you will come back to the material world. But the devotee doesn't come back because he's reconnected in his personal relationship with the Absolute Truth, with Krishna.
Some people say like that Krishna is just an incarnation of God, but then there's just this energy up there. You're saying
that's called impersonalism.
Right, so Krishna is an actual person on another planet. That's
he's
his planet.
More than just another person. He's God. He's a source of everything. He's there, Goloka Eva Navase Akilatam Bhuta. He's there in the spiritual world, but he's also within our heart. He's actually personally present in every atom. I talk about present. Omnipresent. He's personally present personally in every atom. That's Krishna's right there with us at every single moment. So, that's a whole class.
It is. I just have one quick question. This was a question asked of me when last time I was in Mayapur, which is quite a while ago. And the Bhagavatam class was on Maharaj Prithu, one of the ones we just read. And Lokanath Swami was giving the class, and he asked me a question that I could not answer. And that was this. Maybe you have some clue. As you probably know, each of the 9 parts of devotional service has an exemplar. An exemplar for Archana is Maharaj Prithu. But we don't read anything in Bhagavatam about his worship of the deities. Is it even mentioned? I don't know. Where does that come from? Where does he show his expertise or dedication to worshipping the Archa Vigraha? I don't know. Maybe another Purana, I figure.
Is it Prithu or is it Ambarish?
No, it's Prithu.
Prithu.
Yeah. I thought since you're a Bajari and maybe...
Well, Archana, that's interesting. But he engaged in all these different sacrifices and everything. I have no history of it, but he was definitely engaged in the... and he attained the perfection. It's Archana, worship of the sacrifices were the Archana at that time. But Lord Vishnu personally came and gave him darshan.
Yeah,
I don't know anything beyond that.
Yeah. You would think Ambarish, since he was engaging everything, and it's mentioned how he cleaned the temple and walked to the temple. He's involved in the Tulsi leaves.
It's Prithu Maharaj.
But it's definitely Prithu.
Okay.
Anyway,
One more question, then we can...
In the beginning, when it said about the sacrifices that were done, what are those sacrifices? I don't understand.
Like you see, from the front, they have the picture there. That's Agnihotra, the fire sacrifices where they're offering, chanting all these verses, and with each verse they offer ghee into the fire, and the Agni gives that offering, consumes it, and brings it to Vishnu. That
So
was
the king
in
would do that.
previous age. We do it now also, but that was the process of self-realization. Very powerful sages would be chanting these mantras, and sometimes the Lord would personally appear like he did. That was the system recommended in a previous age, long time ago. But those were the sacrifices. And the sacrifice in this day and age is what? That's the chanting of Hare Krishna, Sankirtan Jaga, congregational chanting. Okay. In the age previous to this, it was elaborate deity worship in the temples. You still have those remnants of that in India, these big temples. That was the process of self-realization. And in the first yuga, it's meditation. Because they lived for a long time, and that was most suited for them. So different ages have different recommended sacrifices where a person could purify their consciousness and please the Lord. So now it's Harinam Sankirtan. It's the express process. One short lifetime, back home, back to Godhead. So So we'll end on that happy note. Harinam, Harinam, Harinam eva kevalam kalo nasteva, 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 gati ranyata. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.